Well, hey, everybody. Happy Thursday to you. I am in the studio a little bit early today because we have some stuff going on. So, got to take care of the show a bit early because I don't want to miss it. And so, we're going to get this out here a little bit early for you. So, getting ready to record episode 70 of Mike in the Midwest. Thanks for being here. Here we go. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 70 of Mike in the Midwest, a mini podcast for the amazing patrons like you of the Be Our Guest podcast. Of course, my name is Mike Rallman, host of the Be Our Guest podcast. You can check out everything we do over at beourguestpodcast.com. You know that. You're a patron of the show. You are one of our big super fans, and I appreciate that so very much. Here at the top of the show, I'm going to ask a favor of you this week, if you don't mind, since you do support the show in this a huge way, and I can't thank you enough for that. If you wouldn't mind finding a couple minutes this week to leave an iTunes review somewhere, actually, it's not iTunes, it's Apple Podcasts at this point, but wherever you download your show, if you wouldn't mind leaving a 5-star review, that would be great. Again, I've said this on the show a couple times. We've been around so long, over 13 years, that sometimes folks like you have left reviews and ratings, and they've been on the stores, the platforms where you grab your shows for so long that they've actually expired. And so just so folks can keep finding us, because we're not the latest and greatest, we're not the newest show to populate to the top of the list sometimes. If you wouldn't mind leaving a rating and review, we'd really appreciate that, because it kind of keeps everything fresh and keeps us to the top of the charts, which we are doing well. I'll be honest. Yesterday, one of our most downloaded days in the history of the show. The trends continue to move up. We've been moving up for the last since like 2019. We've had steady growth, and it's because of your support. So thank you so much for that. It's amazing to gain new listeners all around the world. The show continues to grow, and it always has since we started. But it's an amazing journey that we're on, and it's just fun because I get to hear from folks via email, via social media. Just again, this show is called Mike in the Midwest, and I'm a kid who grew up in Missouri. And I'll be honest, when you grew up in Missouri and you went to a little private school, that we in my class, we only had one of each class. So like my class in second grade and third grade and fourth grade and fifth grade and sixth grade, that was the class you were in. There were not two of that class. So you had the same kids in each grade each year. So your world was pretty small. Like I had the same kids in my class every single year. I knew like Tim was going to be in my class, Steve, Jeremy, Jennifer, Tiffany. I remember all the kids in my class. Like those were the kids that I grew up with. So as you can imagine, being, kind of getting to the focus of Mike in the Midwest, my world was pretty small growing up. And then as I got to be in middle school, I was kind of a nerd, and I've talked about this on the show. I had a Commodore 64 and I got a modem for it, and I got on what are called bulletin boards, which was kind of the precursor to the internet. You could dial out on your computer, but you could only really dial out to your own area code. Otherwise, it became long distance, and my family was not about having credit cards or any kind of debt. So I would call out to these other computers within the 314 area code here in St. Louis, and you could like virtually meet people, talk to people through chats and through, kind of primitive email exchanges, bulletin board messages, basically kind of like leaving a message on basically like on a cork board, like you would at the grocery store. You would read that and respond. So, the world got a little bit bigger at that point, but then, things like AOL and CompuServe. I know I'm showing my age right here. I'm super old. But and then the podcast has really allowed me to meet people from all different cultures and walks of life, and just it's added so much to my life. And I just thank you for being a part of this and for supporting the show. Excuse me, because with you being here on Patreon, you allow this show to grow. You truly do. And you allow us to bring this show to so many more people that I wouldn't be able to do that with. So thank you for that. And when I get to go to Walt Disney World, it is truly amazing when I'm just walking. I remember this past summer, just when we were one day we're leaving the studios and getting ready to walk back to the Skyliner, because we're heading over to Caribbean Beach, excuse me, where we were staying. I'm recording this one early in the morning. I didn't run today. I'll talk about that in just a second. But I was walking back to the Skyliner and, some listeners came up, had never met him before. They asked, are you Mike? I was like, yeah, Mike. Oh, wait, we listen to the show. Just want to say hello. That is so cool because, you know, it's awesome to get to meet people that take the time to download, to listen to the show, to take us on a subway. I've never been on a subway, to take us on a bike ride or when they walk their dog or when they do the dishes. So thank you. If I just appreciate you guys so very much. I don't say that enough on the big show. So thank you for being here, for doing everything that you do. All right, so let's talk about a couple things before we get into today's topic. I think I have a fun one for us to kind of pass some time here on a Thursday to get you out the road and down the out the door and down the road, as I say. Today I did not run. I've been trying to get back into my normal groove after Chicago. Chicago was an amazing experience, but man, it took a toll on my body, and I think I'm still paying for it. I did get back into my running, my 13 miles every morning. I'd done it for the last 7 days, but man, my body is it's having a rough time. So today I decided to take the day off. And if you noticed, I talked on the podcast about that bones, no bones meme that's kind of going around. I had no idea what that was. Pam explained it to me. Pam Forrester explained it to me before we started recording on Monday because Hannah, her daughter, had explained it to her. Hannah runs the Magic for Less TikTok account. Yes, the Magic for Less Travel has a TikTok account. I've never seen it because I'm not on TikTok. I don't do TikTok because I don't need one more thing to take up all my time. Twitter does that and Instagram does that enough. I don't go on Facebook, but Twitter and Instagram take up enough time. So she told me about that bones, no bones thing because I was seeing it that day all day on Twitter. People were posting bones, no bones, and then big corporate accounts were getting in it. Like Zaxby's was talking about bones and Buffalo Wild Wings, ironically and stuff. And so I found out that this bones, no bones meme came from this is kind of interesting. It came from a guy who has a pug dog, an old pug dog. I think the pug dog is like 13 years old. And every morning he would get up and the dog would be sleeping in its little dog bed. And when this guy would get up, he would lift up his little dog, poor little dog, little pug. And if he would stand up, like be able to stand on his own four legs, that was a bones day. That was a good day because he was strong enough to stand up on his four legs. And so if it was a bones day, that meant for everybody on the internet, it's going to be a good day. Like get out there, seize the day, get out there and really push hard at work, ask for the raise, go for the big contract, really push yourself. Like this is going to be a good day. That'd be like for me, like, hey, it's a bones day, man. Go for that PR, run that extra mile. But then there's some days where he would lift up his little pug dog in the morning when he got up. Again, he made these videos apparently, and I think he still does on TikTok. I don't know. I'm not on it. But, this cute little pug dog, he'd lift him up, and the poor little pug dog would just fall back into the bed. And that's a no bones day, apparently. And when there's a no bones day, that gives you permission to kind of just like fall back into bed. This is just one of those days where you just got to get by, right? You got to go to work, or it gives you permission not to go to work. But I don't understand how that works. I'm not one of those people. I got to go to work every day and work my butt off. That's just how I was raised. But today was a no bones day for me. I didn't get a wink of sleep last night. My body has just been not, it's been fighting me. And so I thought one day off. We're still 2.5 weeks out from the Wine and Dine race weekend, which is my next race. So I think I can take one day and still be able to get back in the groove tomorrow. The weather was perfect this morning, though, so it kind of killed me. But and I have some appointments that I got to take care of today. So today's a no bones day when it comes to running. Kind of kills me because I'm a person who is very rigid on his schedule. And when I don't run, everything is off. When I eat breakfast, when I do my emails for work, when I do everything is off today. So please have mercy on me if you're one of my guests over at the Magic for Less. My schedule is going to be off until tomorrow morning if I get out there and run, which I will. God willing, I'll get out there and run. So thanks for hanging with me and let me explain that today's a no bones day. And I don't do well on no bones day. I'm more of a bones day guy. Anyway, check out the meme if you need to know the details. I know I had to explain it to my wife. She's like, I still don't get it. So you probably still don't get it. I tried. So there you go. All right. So let's get to the feedback on last week's show. I got a lot of emails on this and I appreciate that so much. Last week I kind of talked about the title of the show is Chicago, is that the Midwest? because everybody I talked to, like I talked to Scott and I was like, Chicago is not the Midwest. Chicago's like New York City. Chicago is a huge metropolitan area. Like it is so big. Cause I remember like I literally at one point when I was in Chicago for the marathon, I had a sore neck because I could not stop looking up at the buildings. Plus, I did that architectural boat tour. And for 75 minutes on that boat, you're constantly looking up from the Chicago River. You're looking up at the buildings, checking out the spires on the top, all the architecture, the structures, and it was just amazing. I was taking pictures like crazy. I looked at my phone. I have so many pictures of all these buildings, and I'll probably never. I mean, I'll look at them, but it's one of those things like I can't really show them to anybody. Nobody wants to see those pictures, probably, because you could go on Google and see probably way better pictures than I took of all these great buildings in Chicago. But, I had a good time with it, so it's kinda fun. Alright, let's get to the feedback on last week's show. Carrie Good, thank you so much for being a patron. Let's see what we got here. So glad you enjoyed your weekend in Chicago and the marathon. I ran the Chicago Marathon in 2003. We're gonna talk about 2003 in just a minute. And the people cheering is definitely something to experience. I was able to cheer for runners a few times for the marathon, and it's just as cool as a spectator. I lived in the city for almost 10 years, and I'm such a Midwest suburban person that I needed to make sure that I had a parking spot in the garage of my building. I agree. Chicago is not the Midwest. Thank you, Carrie. I don't know. I would have to have a parking spot. That's the thing I miss. I miss being able to just jump in my Jeep and like run to Dunkin' Donuts or to get some ice cream or to get Taco Bell. Like I just I was so out of sorts by not, and I did have our car and it was in the garage, but there was nowhere to park the car downtown without paying a fortune. So I don't know. I'm not used to that whole thing. And I didn't really know how to do the L, and I didn't know if the L was safe. I'm not sure. Oh, and BTW, yeah, I did, yesterday. Yeah, I haven't told anybody. I did put my hat in the lottery for the 2022 Chicago Marathon. It was that awesome. I'm registered. I probably won't get in, but I did put the credit card in, and we'll see if I get picked. December 9th, we'll find out. Jack Witzig, thanks for being a patron. This was a very enjoyable episode. Great job relating your running the Chicago Marathon, something I hope to do someday, as part of your larger experience in the city. And as to whether Chicago was in the Midwest, I've lived there. I've lived my entire life in New Jersey, though I spent childhood vacations with family in Morton and Schaumburg, Illinois. I always thought of the Midwest as a large geographical region with wildly varying attributes, from Nebraska to Kansas and Oklahoma in the West, and narrowing up into maybe Ohio on the eastern side. Chicago is a city in the Midwest, like Atlanta is a city in the South, or Philadelphia is a city in the Mid Atlantic and has the best pizza. I like that, Jack. Okay. So here's the thing. I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts. Again, it's totally just a guy in his house. It's totally not professional. It's just a great guy that tells stories. It's called You Don't Know Flack. You can check it out. It's just a retro guy talking about Star Wars toys and video games. He's in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And he was on his show talking about how he is in the Midwest. He just in passing said he lives in the Midwest and he's in Oklahoma City. Now, see, I consider Oklahoma the Mid South. I've always heard that, like, I've heard Arkansas in Oklahoma and places like that referred to as the Mid South. So when he said the Midwest, I was like, okay, now this is getting to like the mystery deepens. So that's what he said. In Schaumburg, my daughter cheerleads in Schaumburg every year. Oh man, I love Schaumburg. There's a mall in Schaumburg that we go to when they cheer there across from the convention center, wherever they cheer. That mall is awesome. There's like a little retro arcade in it. And there's a Mexican restaurant in that mall there, Jack, in Schaumburg. Holy cow, it's so good. So there you go. Let's see. Tanja down in Nashville, Tennessee says, Mike, great show. It's always interesting to get others' takes on my hometown. I didn't realize you're from Chicago. How'd I miss that? I've never thought about the skyscrapers in the way that you did. It's just so common that you forget that not everyone lives where there are really tall buildings. Chicago has really great architecture that allows one to see both the ethnic representation of those neighborhoods as well as the architectural trends at the time. That's a great point. The thing was, You really need to, if you're somebody from the outside, like if you're from Chicago, like Tanja is, you probably don't have to worry about it. But here's the thing, because you grow up with the culture. But the thing is, like, I'm an outsider. And so by doing that tour that I did, they explained like this building, this huge tall building is next to this tall building. But here's why it has like an architectural break at the 62nd floor. Look at the building next to it. It's only 62 story only. It's only 62 stories tall. So that's why there's like a mezzanine on that floor. It's so cool. Like if you watch the buildings carefully in Chicago, one building will flow into the building next to it, to the building next to it. They're not independent structures. A lot of them take cues from the building next to them, and it's weird because I would have never ever noticed those kind of things, but they pointed out on the tour. So I feel so like educated because I did that. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. And some of them have like Greek like the columns on the top of the buildings, 80 stories up in the air. I would have never noticed that, but they look like, the Coliseum up there. It's crazy. Tanja continues. Yes, running Chicago is awesome. The course support is unlike any other. I too encourage every runner, walker to put it on their bucket list. Yes, I did it again. Finally, to answer your big question, you can make it fall into the Great Lakes or Midwest. Most would consider it Midwest for the geographical region used for census purposes since roughly 1910, or you can go by the watershed regions, which places it in the Great Lakes. So that is where your confusion comes from. See, I think Great Lakes because of Lake Michigan right there. Anyway, growing up, we classified Chicago as the Midwest. Nevertheless, I get what you mean when saying it doesn't look as one may envision the Midwest to be. So label it as metropolitan Midwest of the Great Lakes. I like that. That's it. Chicago is now metropolitan Midwest of the Great Lakes. Perfect. It's awesome, but it's not like my area out here where it's just fields. That's what we got. Crystal is up next. Crystal, thank you so much for being a patron. Mike, love this episode. Born, raised, and current resident of the South Side of Chicago. And I really enjoyed hearing about a visitor's view of my hometown. Like most big cities, we have our share of issues, but Chicagoans are just awesome. And I'm so happy you enjoyed the people. I loved your people. And be what it is. I'm a Cardinals fan, and I get, Cubs, Cardinals. We have a very friendly rivalry, but I mean, I hate to lose to the Cubs, but I just want to give the city of Chicago a hug. They embraced me. They helped me get through those 26 miles, and I loved your city. Next time you're here in Hungary, just use mobile order with DoorDash or Uber Eats. You can get your usual fast food meals or even Geno's East delivered to your hotel and save your legs. How did I not think of that? We have that here. I should have thought of that. I'm so dumb. I totally should have thought of that. That's so smart. Hope you and more lizards come back to Chicago next year. Just finished 8 miles in perfect, cool, and crisp weather. If only the marathon was this weekend instead of the last. See you at Wine and Dine in a few weeks. Crystal, see you there. And the cool weather has come to St. Louis as well. Yes, where was that a couple of weeks ago? Jennifer Perry says, congratulations on running the Chicago Marathon. It's definitely something to be proud of. Our daughter goes to school at Roosevelt in Chicago. You ran past Hero Coffee Bar in Lakeview where she works. I know I ran past a bunch of coffee bars because I could smell them. And there were actually, here's what I loved about Chicago. Like there were a lot of these places we ran past. They were like open air places. Like you could see people in the restaurants and in the coffee shops, the cafes, where there wasn't glass in the windows. Like they were actually looking out into the street. That was so cool. And Jennifer says, we visit the city frequently. My answer is that Chicago is surrounded by the Midwest, but the city itself isn't Midwest. We love to visit for the day, but the traffic and urgency is very different from our Midwestern city of Bloomington. So very cool. Thank you guys so much for the feedback. I appreciate that. Chicago's an awesome city. I just wanted to have a little conversation, and we did. All right. So today's topic that we're going to talk here for about 10 or 15 minutes about, I just want to have some fun with. The other day, I pulled out because we had a lot of changes this week, right? Genie Plus. Remember the old fast passes? I have a lot of old fast passes, paper fast passes that I've kept here as souvenirs. But I went back to my bookshelf and I have a lot of old Birnbaums, guys. I bet you guys did, because think about this. In the days before Twitter, which Twitter came around in about 2006, 2007, if we were lucky, we got to go on things like the Diz boards or other, V bulletin type, message boards to exchange ideas with other Disney fans. But even before that, if you were lucky, you would just go to your local library. This is what I did. and I would check out books, guidebooks. And the Birnbaum's guide was always kind of one of my favorites because it was in color, there were lots of pictures, and it usually had the most up-to-date information for that year. So I just pulled out the 2000, sorry, not 2003. I do have the 2003, but I pulled out the 2006 guide today. And I just want to go over a few things just to just to make you shake your head as you're going down the road here today. I want to start off with the page that I bookmarked here with rates at the Walt Disney World properties. Let's talk hotel rates during the value season. Okay, strap yourselves in, folks. Okay, so let's just look at the value season at Walt Disney World. I'm just going to go through a few of these just to put things in perspective. Now, this was 2006, so 15 years ago. So Animal Kingdom Lodge for a regular room in the value season started at $205 a night. How about Boardwalk? Boardwalk Inn, $305 a night. Contemporary Garden Wing, $249 a night. Let's skip around. Wilderness Lodge, $205 a night starting price. Yacht and Beach Club, $305 a night during value season. Wow, that's pretty good. Let's go to the villas. Beach Club Villas, $305. Let's see here. Old Key West. How about a deluxe studio? $269 a night in 2006 during the value season. Saratoga Springs, you could get a studio there as well. $269 a night. Wow. Wish I could get in a time machine. Let's check out those moderates real quick. How about Caribbean Beach? $139 a night, ladies and gentlemen, during value season for Caribbean Beach. Coronado Springs, $139, and also Riverside and French Quarter, $139 a night. Let's go to the values. $79 a night for the values, all of them Pop Century, All-Star Movies, Music, and Sports. Of course, no Art of Animation at this time. The lowest you could do was camping in a tent, which was $39 a night, which I think is not too far from what it still is today. So camping has stayed a pretty decent value. But yeah, there you go. So I was thumbing through here. And what I like about, I don't know if do you guys have Birnbaum's guides? Because I think the best part about a Birnbaum's guide is to go to the hot tips and see like what hot tips have held up and what hot tips have not. So you just go by park. So like I'm in the Magic Kingdom and I just scan through. And again, the thing about a Birnbaum's guide is that they have lots of great pictures. So they have a full page spread for this 2006 guide about, it's killing me here, Spectro Magic. And it says Spectro Magic lights up the park. And it has Mickey on the front of the parade there where he's, doing the sorcery thing with the crystal ball there. And, tells you that you got to be careful, hot tip, because this can be canceled in inclement weather. Here's what it says. Spectro Magic, the dazzling parade, which first premiered during Disney World's 20th anniversary celebration, has gotten rave reviews and taken its place among Disney's must-sees. Its beloved predecessor, the Main Street Electrical Parade, can currently be seen at Disney's California Adventure in Anaheim, California. Yeah, timing tip. Here's your tip. When the parade runs twice a night, the earlier presentation is always significantly more crowded than the later one. So if your family hadn't collectively run out of steam, stick around for the late show. You'll be glad you did. You guys remember the tip we used to give for the parades at the Magic Kingdom? Always watch them in Frontierland. Oh, here's what's new in entertainment at the Magic Kingdom in 2006. Remember this? The Cinderella-bration. Performed on the castle stage, this lively musical show takes the story of the popular princesses a step further, celebrating her coronation as a princess with elaborate fanfare, host of Disney characters, a rousing music score, courtesy of the London Symphony Orchestra. It's a who's who of Disney royalty with Snow White, Princess Aurora, who's Sleeping Beauty, Jasmine and Belle, all on hand for the festive occasion. Cinderella-bration was inspired by a popular show at Disneyland Tokyo. Wow, that was what was new. Let's see here. What else do we have? Oh, Tip here, let it rain. The show doesn't stop just because of a storm. Instead, shops throughout the Magic Kingdom sell plastic Mickey ponchos to outfit guests who have left their own rain gear back home at their hotel or in their car. Yes, you got to get that. Let's see, what else tips do we have for the Magic Kingdom? Birnbaum's they have Birnbaum's best rides listed as Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger Spin and Space Mountain, which I'll agree with. Here's a hot tip. Parents, take note. Let's see. This is about. This is great. Parents, take note. This attraction is much less scary than this is talking about Stitch. Remember the old Stitch ride? This attraction is much less scary than extraterrestrial alien encounters. Still, there are moments of darkness, and Stitch's madcap shenanigans may be daunting to little ones. So, yeah, it was talking about that's a hot tip. Be careful. Your kids might still be scared in Stitch. Here's a hot tip for Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger Spin. To up your score at Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger Spin, keep the trigger depressed at all times. Also, be sure to aim for moving or distant targets. They may prove to be bigger point payoffs. So look at that. You got to have the guide. Whoa, here's a whole land that no longer exists in the Magic Kingdom. You know what that is? Actually, we're going to talk about this land on Monday's Be Our Guest podcast when we speak with listener Natalie from Indianapolis. Mickey's Toontown Fair. Here's a hot tip for Mickey's Toontown Fair, which does not exist anymore. Toontown bustles with the most activity during the first half of the day. To avoid the biggest crowds, visit Mickey's Country Hideaway in the late afternoon or in the evening. How many of you guys actually took time out of your day to go back to Mickey's Toontown Fair? Now, we always did. We have a lot of pictures from the old, it was like the judge's tent, I think it was called, where you got your picture with Mickey. And I think Minnie was back there too. We always got our pictures with the characters. And we went through, but, wasn't a whole lot going on back there as you got older. I think it was really cool for the little kids. And here's another hot tip. The line to meet Mickey in the judge's tent can be quite lengthy. It's usually shorter late in the day and during parades. There you go. Uh-oh. Here's another hot tip. Many of the Fantasyland attractions are dark, and in some cases, special effects may be too intense for small children. Okay. There's Ariel's Grotto. That went away for a while, but that's back. Very good. Here's another hot tip for the Magic Kingdom. Toddlers love to splash in the fountains near Ariel's Grotto in Fantasyland and Donald's boat in Toontown. Waterproof diapers are an absolute must. Well, guess you don't have to worry about that anymore. I guess we got Casey Jr.'s that train in Storybook Circus now. It kind of took the place of that. See what else fun stuff do we have here that has changed. And a lot of the funny thing is about the Magic Kingdom is I scan through here, and we'll just stick with the Magic Kingdom in the guide today. We'll come back to this book later. Most of the Magic Kingdom has stayed the same. For Splash Mountain, it says hot tip: if you'd like to get soaked on Splash Mountain, request a seat up front. I would say for me, the seat up front, you get the probably the most wet, but also in the very back, I've gotten the most wet too. It's not always just the very front. Let's see. In Adventureland, hot tip: during non-peak seasons, Adventureland may open 1 hour after the rest of the Magic Kingdom opens for the day. I don't remember that. Did they keep Adventureland closed until a little bit after the park opened? I don't remember that. Interesting. It does have listed in here the Magic Carpets of Aladdin, so that was open in 2006. The Tiki Room was the Enchanted Tiki Room under new management at that point. It does have Pirates of the Caribbean listed as a Birnbaum's best for the Magic Kingdom, so that makes sense. Oh, Main Street USA. Let's get a hot tip there. Plan to do your shopping in the early afternoon rather than at Days End when Main Street shops are normally jammed. Excuse me. That is a great tip. That holds true today. Oh my gosh. What about October 1st? Yeah, you don't want to try that. Yes. It's so funny to look at the castle because it's had so many different colors at this point in these pictures. Here's another hot tip for Main Street USA. Guests staying at the Contemporary Resort can walk to and from the Magic Kingdom's front gate. The trip takes about 5 to 10 minutes. It's handy when there's a long line for the monorail. So, how many of you have stayed at the Contemporary and made that walk? That is a great, easy walk. And especially now in the days, because remember, a lot of this stuff was written. Now, this wasn't because this is 2006, but before you had to go through a ton of security. So, that security point between the Contemporary and the Magic Kingdom is a very quick one because hardly anybody goes through there. You're through there super fast, and boom, you're right there at the Magic Kingdom. Here's one more hot tip for I guess this is just for the Magic Kingdom in general. Mondays tend to be the most crowded day at the Magic Kingdom. And that is true from what I've learned. You would think it would be on the weekends, but it is Monday because I think what happens is most people tend to, now again, Walt Disney World is more of a park for folks that travel from out of state. And a lot of folks travel to Walt Disney World on Saturday or Sunday, and they like to start their vacation at the Magic Kingdom, and they tend to start it on Mondays. So that's how that works. One more tip. Actually, let's get to a couple things real quick. How about the admission prices to the Magic Kingdom? 2006. A one-day base ticket to the Magic Kingdom for an adult, $59.75, and for a child ages 3 to 9, $48 flat. Pretty interesting. And the final tip that I'm going to give before we get out of here is Pal Mickey. He may look like just another plush toy, but Pal Mickey is a bit extraordinary. He's actually a high-tech theme park tour guide and companion. As guests stroll through the parks, Mickey shares helpful park-related advice, tells jokes and Disney fun facts, and plays games. Pal Mickey may be purchased for $60. He'll continue to amuse and with interactive games once you get him home. He can be found in select shops at all 4 Disney theme parks, at Walt Disney World owned and operated resorts, and at the Once Upon a Toy Shop in downtown Disney Marketplace for purchase only. Spanish-speaking Pal Mickey may be available soon too. And remember, you could also rent Pal Mickey for the day, I believe. I think that's true. So kind of fun. We'll go back through this. I love just pulling out an old guidebook and looking about the fun stuff that was in the past. A lot of this stuff is still true, and a lot of this stuff is just almost exactly the same 15 years later. Well, look on the back. There's a $50 offer from Disney's Visa card. I wonder what that is, and I bet it's expired. But it's fun to look back because that's when I fell in love with Walt Disney World, was back in like 2006. That's when everything was like new and I didn't have a clue what was going on. And those were the fun days when I didn't have a clue. It's still the fun days now because it's for a different reason. But that's the time when I went and I just didn't have an idea what I was doing, but God, it was fun. So I hope you enjoyed today's walk down memory lane. Here's what I want. I'm going to ask you to do this for me because I love the feedback. I love starting the show where I get to get everybody's, thoughts on the podcast here on the Mike in the Midwest show. I love getting the names out there each week and getting your thoughts as to be a part of this show. So drop by patreon.com/BeOurGuestPodcast sometime this week. It doesn't have to be right now, but give me your thoughts. Like, what do you remember from 2006? Do you have old guidebooks? Do you collect them? Do you keep old unofficial guides? Give me some things that maybe I mentioned today that kind of are shocking to you or surprising to you, or don't surprise you at all. What do you miss? What do you miss? Give me some feedback so that we can have some more fun discussion to lead off next Thursday's show. But until then, I hope you have a wonderful Thursday and a great weekend. Again, thank you for being a friend. Thank you for supporting our show. Thank you for allowing us to put this out all around the world. So until we get together again, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon.